God bless you, ladies and gentlemen, and I appreciate you clicking on this video. To those on YouTube or Facebook, however you are viewing this, thank you for clicking on it. Just want to talk about a verse here in the Bible that a lot of people don't realize actually has more to do with sanctification than it actually refers to water baptism or baptism, excuse me. Uh, Romans chapter 6. Now, I'm going to be dealing with a little bit of the Greek and Hebrew languages here, so just bear with me for a second. Um, the Apostle Paul is writing here, and I want to read these two verses, or maybe five, 3, 4, and 5, excuse me. But in Romans 6, verse 3, it says, "Know ye not that so many of us as were baptized," now that's the key word here, baptized, into into Jesus Christ, were baptized into his death. Therefore, we are buried with him by baptism. Now, there's two different words there, baptized and then baptism, into his death, and then the likeness that was Christ was raised from the dead by the glory of the Father, God the Father. Even so, we also should walk in the newness of life, for we have been planted together in the likeness of his death. Now, this is referring to water baptism. We shall also be in the likeness of his resurrection when we come up out of the water. But here's what I want to focus on. I'm not here really talking about water baptism, which is very important. But in verse 3, it uses a word, Paul uses a word here, baptized into death. Now, if you look up the word baptized and then you look up the word baptism, they both have similar meaning, but they're yet different in context. Now, in that verse 3, it tells us that we are baptized into the Christ in the likeness, or being baptized into him. And it shows us, if you look at this in the Greek, it has a different meaning than that of baptism or relates to baptism. If you look at it, it has the same meaning, to dip into or to apply. Now, you don't apply water and you don't dip in the water. We immerse in water in baptism. But the word baptize has the same meaning that in Leviticus in the Old Testament, when the high priest would take the blood from the animals and they would dip into that blood and then apply it to the doorpost. When the Lord said in Egypt, he told the Israelites, when I see the blood, I will pass over. It meant that they were baptized into that blood in a spiritual sense. So what I'm trying to get to here is that verse 3 is more referring more about being baptized into the literal death of Christ. And that's why when God looks upon us, he does not see us. If we have repented of our sins, he does not see us as we are, but he actually sees the blood, literally, and Christ took our place on the cross. And so therefore, it is important. As important as baptism is in water, the more important thing is to know that we are baptized into the blood of Christ. And that is when we are saved and when a person is truly born again and been baptized into the likeness of his death, or baptized into the death of Christ, meaning that we die with Christ, Christ liveth. Paul said, it's not I that liveth, but Christ in me. And he also said, I am crucified unto the world and unto the gospel. So I just want to encourage you to study this verse here, Romans 6 and 3. It relates more, actually, most people teach that it relates to water baptism, but that's verse 4, 5, and 6 that relate to water baptism, according to the original Greek of the New Testament. If you study the Greek and study the Hebrew of the Old Testament, that word baptize means of the blood, and it relates back, if you run references of that verse and the original Hebrew word there, it refers back to the Old Testament in the book of Leviticus, when the priests would conduct the different sacrifices, the 5 Levitical sacrifices of the book of Leviticus. So I challenge you, study that and look into those 5 different offerings of Leviticus, and you will find that they relate back to Christ here in this chapter, in this verse. Romans 6:3, when we are baptized into Christ, he fulfilled all five in the one offering of himself on the cross of Calvary. So I challenge you in a good way, not in a competitional way, but in a brotherly love. I challenge you to study out the blood baptism, not the water baptism, but the blood baptism in the Bible, which is far greater than the water baptism. But just look into it and study it out. I believe it'll be a blessing to you. Thank you for watching, and God bless you.